In today's video, I want to have a little look at the Night City prison that is indeed in the final and playable version of Cyberpunk 2077, but doesn't really have any kind of purpose. In fact, it isn't featured for a single mission, a single gig. It is basically just a big dramatic piece of scenery. Well, is it just that? You know, maybe there is something a little bit funky going on behind closed doors. I mean, I think it's pretty likely to assume that this place, what with its size, with its detail, with its unique dialogue, which you can find at one of the entrances, probably was intended to be at least involved in some kind of mission or gig. Maybe not some kind of, free roam aspect, but at the very least used for, kind of scripted gameplay. But as always, guys, if you enjoy this content, please do feel free to consider subscribing. Thank you very much. Let's get into the video. So first and foremost, at the entrance or one of the entrances of the prison, you can see that there's some unique dialogue going on relating to the prison itself.
If he was a real father, he wouldn't have gotten himself thrown in jail.
So that's the first indication that there's something, very slightly unique going on with the prison. There is some dialogue which is basically just been created for this one area, and I think a lot of people can interpret that as, oh well, maybe something big was planned for this place, which could be true, but it's kind of a slippery slope to go down. I think what's more likely is that players are going to see a prison in Cyberpunk and be like, damn, that looks cool, and then get up to this gate right here, see that it's closed, and probably be a little disappointed. But at the same time, there's still these NPCs which have actually now despawned, who will talk about the prison, talk about their family, and help create this kind of believable world, even if it's not necessarily discoverable and enterable and provide kind of tangible gameplay. And that's just playing devil's advocate. You could go down the other road and say that this is some kind of leftover content. So this is actually the main entrance of Night City Prison, which is pretty strange because you would have thought it'd be where we just were, because this place just looks very, very underdeveloped, almost like it was kind of chucked together last minute. Anyway, this is the main entrance, and obviously these doors aren't usually enterable. We can actually pop behind them, and we end up in this kind of circular building which finds itself inside the prison. This thing I'm not really sure about. I don't know what this is supposed to be. My first kind of instinct was that this is potentially a cell block, I forget what they called it, but that type of prison where it was basically a circle, so there were no blind spots. Had a very elaborate name, I can't think what it's called. But then also another part of me thinks that this is actually some kind of generator, some kind of source of power. And it's interesting that this big building ties up with the actual entrance to the prison. If we for a minute assume that this place was maybe supposed to house a gig or some side content, then maybe this building would have actually had an interior. Maybe it would have seen the player go in here to perhaps disable something, to maybe plant a virus. I think the prison makes the most amount of sense if you think about it in terms of gigs and side content to be one of your kind of thievery or extraction gigs, going in, planting a bug, or taking someone out from it. Surrounding this big circular operation locker sort of building, we do have a couple guard towers which are present throughout the prison. To its right as well, we have the first indication that the prison is very much a real place. Even if some of the building interiors don't really exist, the courtyards absolutely do. And this place is pretty goddamn detailed. As you can see, NPCs are a little bit reluctant to spawn. I think this is because of the time of day, which is quite interesting, because last time I recorded this, it was a little later in the day. I think at the moment it's about 7 in the morning. So NPCs actually do spawn here, but they actually spawn dynamically, which is pretty cool. Obviously you got your basketball nets, you got your basketball courts, you got these little bleachers, is that what the goddamn septic tanks call them? And as well, throughout this entire courtyard, and this one as well, there's obviously guards that are standing around, kind of watching over the prison. Inside this building is unfortunately nothing, and that goes for pretty much all of these prison buildings. There are no hidden interiors, there's nothing crazy. Even in this kind of logistics center, it kind of looks like it would be maybe an exit to like a gig, Like this gate would open and you could fly out after stealing something or planting something, but there's just nothing in here, unfortunately. And generally that kind of goes for the whole prison. This place is very weird because we have kind of conflicting representations of if this was cut content or not, because like I say, we have these pretty detailed basketball courts with prisoners that spawn, with guards that spawn, but then we have areas which look like they were just outright forgotten about or cut very, very last minute, like these big areas of grasslands which are probably supposed to be the same as the basketball courts. They got like guard towers in them, they have spawning NPCs doing pretty much the same as they would do on the other ones. It's just a very bizarre layout. I don't know, to me at least, this prison seems like it was supposed to definitely have more. Without a shadow of a doubt, I think it was planned for side content, or it was planned for a gig, some kind of mission that would have seen it open up, probably for a short amount of time and then go back to being closed again. I don't necessarily think that the player was supposed to end up in prison, you know, like some kind of GTA thing where like you come out of a hospital after dying, or you come out of a prison after being arrested. Like I don't think it was that complicated. That's just my personal opinion. Look, this place is pretty goddamn big, and the fact that it's also right next to this petrochem industrial estate, which in itself is completely barren and unused. This is like a decent sizable chunk of the map which CDPR have purposely filled with basically nothing. You know, this is like filler. It's there to make the city look bigger and more complicated, but it actually doesn't have anything going for it. And it just makes me wonder why they would choose such a large location to have basically fake environments, you know, fake parts of a city in, when they could have put, I don't know, more of this. I just find it ironic that obviously Night City is basically riddled with crime, and you'd expect a prison to play a pretty big part in that kind of experience, but it's kind of the same as a police system as well. We only just got a working police system, so it doesn't really surprise me that the prison is completely unused by any means. But guys, what do you think? Do you think the prison was supposed to be something more, or do you think this was just a little bit of backdrop and, you know, classic CDPR behaviour? Let me know in the comments of the video. Thanks very much for watching. As always guys, I'll catch you lot in a bit.